Does a dragon guard Cornwall's coast? Let's uncover magical mysteries on Tall Tales UK. A quick note: these tall tales are purely fictional fun, with a bit of brushish cheek. Let's start in Tintagel, a windswept village on Cornwall's rugged north coast, where the cliffs whisper tales of King Arthur and his knights. Tintagel Castle, perched high above the Atlantic, is said to be Arthur's birthplace, its ruins steeped in legend since the 5th century, when Celtic chieftains ruled these lands. The castle's history stretches back to the Roman era, when it was a trading post for tin and pottery, linking Cornwall to the Mediterranean. But forget Excalibur, there's a new legend in town, and it's got scales. Deep in Merlin's cave, a cavern beneath the castle where the wizard once wove his spells, lives a green dragon named Cedric. The cave, carved by the relentless waves over millennia, echoes with the whispers of ancient magic, its walls glistening with sea spray and secrets, and locals say they'll hear Merlin's chants if you listen on a quiet night. Cedric isn't your typical fire-breathing monster. No, he's a proper Cornish dragon, more interested in hoarding Arthurian gold than causing a fuss. Locals swear they've heard him snoring loud enough to wake the seagulls, a rumbling roar that shakes the pebbles on the beach below, startling tourists who think it's an earthquake. His belly sparkles with goblets and crowns from Camelot's glory days, treasures he's collected over centuries while napping in the shadows, including a golden chalice said to have been Merlin's own, etched with runes that glow faintly in the dark. Every full moon, Cedric slithers out to sunbathe on the cliffs, his emerald scales catching the silvery light, leaving scorch marks that tourists mistake for ancient runes carved by druids long ago, who once held rituals on these very cliffs to honor the sea gods. Some say he's guarding Tintagel Castle for Arthur's return, hoping to hand over his glittering hoard to the once and future king, believing Arthur will need the gold to reclaim his throne in a modern world full of bureaucracy and taxes. But I reckon he just fancies a good nap with a sea view, dreaming of the days when knights jousted on the moors and dragons were the talk of every tavern from here to Camelot. Fishermen leave him pasties as offerings, wrapped in paper with little notes saying to Cedric, with love, hoping he'll bless their nets with a bountiful catch of mackerel. Not that Cedric eats them, he's more of a cream tea dragon. Scones with a dollop of jam and a proper brew. Thank you very much. Often seen sipping from a teacup the size of a barrel, which he keeps polished to a gleam. On stormy nights, his scales shimmer in the lightning, a sight that sent many a tourist scrambling for their cameras, thinking they've spotted a UFO hovering over the Cornish coast, only to realize it's just Cedric stretching his wings after a long slumber. The local pub, the Tintagel Arms, a 14th century inn with a thatched roof, a roaring fire, and walls adorned with old fishing nets, even named a cider after him, Cedric's Snore, a fizzy delight that's a bit too fiery for most, brewed with apples from a nearby orchard, said to be enchanted by Merlin himself. The orchard, tucked away in a hidden valley near Boscastle, blooms with blossoms that glow faintly at night, a secret known only to the oldest villagers, who claim the apples taste of magic and a hint of dragon smoke. So, next time you're in Tintagel, take a stroll along the cliff path, feel the salty breeze on your face, listen for a snore that rattles the pebbles, and imagine the stories those cliffs could tell. It might just be Cedric, dreaming of nights, jam, and a spot of sunshine on the Cornish coast. But the coast hides more secrets. Let's swim down to Penzance, where the fish aren't the only ones making a splash. Welcome to Penzance, a charming seaside town on Cornwall's south coast, famous for its pirates, or at least the ones Gilbert and Sullivan dreamed up in their 1879 operetta, The Pirates of Penzance, which brought the town's name to stages across the world. Penzance has a long history of maritime trade, its harbour bustling since the medieval days when it shipped tin and pilchards across Europe to the courts of France and Spain. Its docks alive with the shouts of sailors and the creak of wooden ships. Today, it's all about tourism and art, with the Jubilee Pool a grand Art Deco Lido built in 1935 drawing swimmers to its turquoise waters, and the Penley House Gallery showcasing works by the Norland school artists who captured Cornwall's fishing life in the 19th century. But beneath the waves, there's a different kind of magic at play, hidden from the tourists sipping ice creams on the promenade. Meet Marina, a mermaid who swapped her underwater palace for a quaint B&B on Chapel Street, a cobblestone lane lined with 17th century cottages, flower baskets swinging in the breeze, and the faint scent of salt water in the air. She's a proper Cornish lass, tail and all, who decided she'd rather serve guests than swim with sharks in the depths of Mounts Bay, where the currents are as wild as the seals that bask on the rocks. Her B&B, called the Salty Scone, is a hit with tourists and dolphins, who pop by for breakfast every morning, flipping their fins in delight as they nibble on seaweed treats Marina prepares with her own fins. Marina's signature dish, fishy scones with clotted cream, baked with seaweed flour harvested from the bay, and a pinch of magic from the ocean's depths, where the water glows with bioluminescent plankton on moonless nights. Guests say they taste like the ocean breeze on a sunny day, a briny tang mixed with the sweetness of cream. But I reckon they're just being polite about the fishy aftertaste that lingers on the tongue long after the last bite, leaving you wondering if you've just eaten a piece of the sea itself. At night, Marina hosts sing-alongs in her underwater lounge, a coral-encrusted cavern beneath the harbour, where the jellyfish provide disco lights that shimmer in shades of blue and pink, casting an ethereal glow on the sandy floor. A crab band plays percussion on old shipwreck planks, tapping out tunes with their claws, while seahorses sway to the rhythm, creating a party atmosphere that's the talk of the underwater world. She's saving up to buy a proper Cornish tin mine, turns out. Mermaids love a bit of history as much as the next chap, and she's keen to explore the tunnels where miners once toiled, digging for tin in the 1800s, their pickaxes echoing through the earth like a heartbeat. On weekends, Marina gives tour of the bay, her tail shimmering like a rainbow as she points out shipwrecks from the 1600s, including one said to belong to a Spanish galleon laden with gold, sunk during a storm off the Lizard Peninsula in 1627. She tells tales of the wreckers who once lured ships onto the rocks with false lights, a dark chapter in Cornwall's past when desperate locals scavenged the wreckage for survival. But her tour all about wonder and discovery, showing off the beauty of the underwater world she calls home. So, if you're in Penzance and hear a splashy rendition of a pirate's life for me echoing from the harbour, or see a shimmer of scales in the moonlight as you stroll along the promenade, you'll know where to find Marina, the merriest mermaid in Cornwall, ready to welcome you with a fishy scone and a song. From mermaids to marauders, let's sail over to St. Ives, where the cliffs have a ghostly tale to tell. Hasty Ives, with its golden beaches and art galleries, seems like paradise until the moon rises over the Atlantic, casting an eerie glow on the waves that crash against the shore. This town has been a haven for artists since the 19th century, when the likes of J.M.W. Turner and James Whistler came to paint its shimmering light, drawn by the way the sun dances on the water, creating a canvas of gold and blue. But its history goes back further, to the days of smugglers and wreckers who plied their trade along this treacherous coast, hiding contraband in secret coves and whispering tales of ill-gotten gains in the taverns. Meet Captain Blackfin, the ghost pirate who haunts the cliffs above Porthmeor Beach, a stretch of sand where surfers now ride the waves, but once echoed with the shouts of smugglers unloading barrels of brandy under the cover of darkness. In the 1700s, Blackfin was a proper Cornish pirate, looting ships with a grin as wide as the River Tamar. His crew feared from Falmouth to Plymouth for their daring raids on merchant vessels carrying silks, spices, and rum from the Caribbean. But one stormy night in 1742, he hid his rum stash in a cave beneath the cliffs, forgot the map in a drunken haze after celebrating a particularly successful raid. And well, let's just say he's been a bit lost ever since. Now, as a ghost, Blackfin roams the cliffs, his spectral tricorn hat glowing in the moonlight like a lantern, casting shadows on the granite rocks that have stood sentinel for centuries. Locals hear his ghostly cries of "Where's me rum?" echoing over the waves, usually followed by the clinking of invisible bottles rolling down the beach, a sound that sends shivers down the spine of even the bravest fisherman. He's a terrible navigator. Even in death last week, he got stuck in a rock pool, muttering about ruddy tides, while seagulls laughed overhead, swooping down to peck at the seaweed caught in his ghostly beard. Some say he's searching for his treasure, a chest of gold doubloons buried under the sands of Porthmeor, hidden during a raid on a Spanish ship in 1715. But I reckon he just wants a pint at the Sloop Inn, St. Ives' oldest pub, where smugglers once swapped tales over a tankard of ale, their voices mingling with the crackle of the fire. The Sloop Inn, built in 1312, still stands on the harbour. Its low ceilings and creaky floors are testament to centuries of secrets, and some say Blackfin's ghostly laughter can be heard there on stormy nights. Tourists leave him jelly babies as peace offerings, placing them on the rocks with a whispered "for the captain," though Blackfin prefers ghostly Cornish cider, brewed with moonlit apples from a haunted orchard near Zena, where the trees are said to whisper pirate shanties on windy nights. On foggy nights, his ghostly ship, the Blackfin's Revenge, appears off the coast, its tattered sails flapping in the breeze, its skeletal crew singing a haunting tune that sends chills down the spine of anyone brave enough to watch from the shore. So, if you're in St. Ives and feel a chilly breeze, or hear the faint clink of bottles on a quiet night, don't worry, it's just Blackfin, still hunting his rum after all these centuries, a ghostly reminder of Cornwall's wild and lawless past. From ghostly grog to enchanted grub, let's head inland to Bodmin, where a pasty holds a magical surprise. In Bodmin, famous for its moor and its pasties, there's one pasty that's more than just a hearty lunch. Bodmin's history is as rugged as its landscape, once a bustling centre for tin mining in the 18th and 19th centuries, its mines stretching deep beneath the earth, and even a site of rebellion during the 1497 Cornish uprising against Henry VII's taxes, when locals marched to London in protest, only to be defeated at Blackheath. At a tiny bakery on Forge Street, a narrow lane lined with Georgian buildings and the faint scent of baked goods, Granny Trelawney bakes a magical pasty that grants one wish, but only if you eat it with a proper cuppa, brewed with the finest Cornish tea leaves, of course. This pasty isn't your average steak and tatty. It's golden, flaky, and sparkles with a hint of Cornish magic. It's crushed shimmering like the moors at sunrise, when the first light touches the granite tors, and the heather glows with a rosy hue. Legend says Granny found the recipe in an old smuggling tunnel beneath Bodmin Moor, written in pixie dust by a mischievous sprite who loved a good feast. Its delicate script glowing faintly in the dark, a secret passed down through generations of Trelawney women. One lad wished for a surfing championship and rode a wave all the way to Newquay, but forgot his board, ending up in a splashy mess that had the locals in stitches, laughing so hard they nearly dropped their own pasties. Another wished for a lifetime supply of clotted cream, only to find his fridge bursting, with cream spilling onto the cobbles outside his cottage, turning the street into a slippery, creamy mess that had the village cats licking their whiskers for days. The catch: you've got to finish the pasty in one sitting, and Granny's portions are as hefty as a moorland pony, packed with sweet, onion, tender beef, and a sprinkle of enchantment that makes your taste buds tingle with every bite. Granny's Bakery, a quaint stone building with a red door and a sign shaped like a pasty, has been in her family for over a century, its ovens baking since the days when Bodmin was a stop on the stagecoach route to London. So, if you're in Bodmin and fancy a wish, pop into Trelawney's, take a seat by the window with a view of the moor, and order the magical pasty, but bring a big appetite and a cuppa. Or you might find yourself wishing for a bigger belly to handle Granny's legendary portions. Which Cornish tale's your fave? Comment below and subscribe to Tall Tales UK for more whimsical brushish stories every Tuesday. and Friday. Cheerio.